Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Mr. Muskie Charters, offering full-service guided fishing trips for walleye, muskie, bass, and sturgeon on Lake St. Clair and the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Booking information is online at mrmuskiecharters.com.
Well, everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Lots of brand new stuff on this week's show, and we're going to start and spend most of the show down in the southeast corner of the Lower Peninsula on Lake St. Clair. Jenny and Jordan were down there just a week or so back doing a little fishing with Kevin Backus from Mr. Muskie Charter. I was also down there just a week or so before that, joining a group of people going out and saying thank you to our lady veterans and lady law enforcement by doing a little muskie fishing down there as well. After that, we're going to head up to the central part of the Lower Peninsula and do some bass fishing out of kayaks. Lots of good stuff on this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's the love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse. Offering a variety of meat products, Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 and M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen. By G5 Outdoors, makers of the Quest and Prime bows, manufactured and designed in Memphis, Michigan. G5 offers a line of archery bows, broadheads, and accessories. On the web at g5outdoors.com. By KL Outdoor, a Muskegon manufacturer of sportsman's outdoor products for over 30 years, featuring the Terrain line of hard-sided hunting blinds designed for quick setup and removal with quiet operation. For more information and other products, kloutdoor.com.
Michigan-based Vanguard manufactures an array of binoculars, ranging in size and design, and backed by a lifetime warranty. Discover Vanguard sporting optics at vanguardworld.us.
We're heading out to Great Lake St. Clair, the world's best muskie fishery today, and I'm going to go try to tie into some muskies for a new young lad that has never caught a muskie yet. He's a bass fisherman, so we're going to kind of show him a taste of what muskie fishing's all about.
It's the good luck pretzel. I just told James, have a pretzel and you're going to catch a fish. He just finished his. There you go.
What do you think? It's pretty heavy.
Who's got who on? Right? You got him on or you got you on?
I'm not sure. 50-50.
So how many in your long muskie career, how many muskies is this make for you?
This is the first one.
First one?
Yeah.
After a short battle, James landed the very first fish of the day, a beautiful 43-inch muskie.
All my muskies, I like to take good care of them, whether they're big or small. We put all of them into a live well, and when we get them in the live well, see, like this fish is having a hard time right now. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to have you help, because just like every average fisherman should take good care of all their fish regardless of what kind of fish it is. So I don't know if you've ever felt the muskie. You can feel them. Go ahead and feel them. It's your fish. So they've got that slime coating on them, right? And that slime coating is their protective coat. But what I'll have you do momentarily is I will have you help hold the fish. We're just going to try to keep him upright until he can balance himself, because he just had a little bit of a rough go up there.
I met James and his family this past spring at a school fundraiser that my fiance and I were at, And through conversation, I found out he's never caught a muskie in his life. He's done a lot of bass fishing, so I said, I think we know the guy that can hook you up with your first muskie, and that was an awesome one. 43 inches. Way to go, James.
Just so you know. Usually for your first muskie, James, when people catch their first muskie, we let them climb right in the live well with them and give them a nice bear hug. What do you think?
I think I'll pass.
You're gonna pass on me. Yeah. See, you're a smarter fisherman. That's good. Just like muskies, you have to outsmart the muskies, just like you're outsmarting the captain right now. But it would have been funny to see.
Kevin and his family have been fishing this lake for decades, and as we waited for our next bite, he took me through a little bit of the history of fishing for muskies on Lake St. Clair.
So back in the 30s is when muskie fishing pretty much started, and initially it started with a lot of guys in smaller boats that would row troll, and they had small gas motors. And typically what they would do would be run 2 rods directly out the back of the boat, and they would long line a few lures. What would happen though is eventually you have to turn back to where you came from, and the lures would typically get tangled up. When they would get tangled up, they'd either have to pull them in and untangle them or retie. My grandfather in the late 30s developed a new trolling technique, and he was basically the founding father of trolling for muskies. And the technique that he pioneered had increased rods by 400%. So he developed a system where he could run 8 rods at the same time. The way we've changed the trolling setup from Homer's original 8-rod setup is we didn't have planer boards back then. So we've lowered his 8 boat rod setup to 4 or 5 boat rods. But we've also added the planer boards, which allows us to fish 3 to 5 additional rods off each planer board. So we increased Homer's setup by roughly 400% again, which increases our chances of catching muskies.
There you go. That's the nice thing about the smaller ones too. They don't take long at all to recover. They're right back in there.
Yeah, especially if it's not an extremely long fight. They come back, they're not as worn out. So it's nice then we can get them back in the water quicker, because even though we have a live well here on board and it is sucking directly out of the lake, you know, below that's sucking out of the surface. Below it's a lot cooler, so that's the water that they're more comfortable in. So it's nice when they go back fast. Back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, as muskie fishing grew in popularity, there were a lot fewer muskies in the lake. You could go days without catching a muskie or even hearing a reel go off, where nowadays, just like today when we were fishing, James caught his first fish within 5 minutes of trolling. That's largely in part due to changes in the lake, as well as catch and release. Back in the early days, they used to catch and keep all their muskies as either trophies, food, or garden fertilizer. Nowadays, we would try our best to release all the muskies back into Lake St. Clair so that they can continue to grow bigger and be caught again another day. And that's another reason why it is the world's greatest muskie fishery and why there are so many trophy fish. And every day that you fish, you have the shot at a trophy muskie here on Lake St. Clair. A few of the other things that contributed to the increase in muskie fishing was, one, some invasive things have helped the lake out, like the zebra mussels have cleaned up the lake drastically, made it very clean, which is very good. The sun hits the bottom very fast, the weed beds grow up, they hold a lot of bait fish, which keeps the muskies here. Also, it has an ideal temperature and it's a very shallow lake. So it's ideal for the muskies not only to live in, but to breed in. It is, you know, those are what I would consider almost the most powerful fish in the lake, those mid to upper 40-inch fish.
How old is a fish like this? Any idea?
I would say that fish is probably 12 to 15 years old.
12 to 15, okay.
Yeah, usually once they approach that 50-inch mark, you're pushing the 18 to 20 years. And usually once they grow to legal length, which that is over illegal in Canada, and well over legal in Michigan, they start to grow wider than longer.
That was awesome. And you see we really nursed that fish kind of back to life. This is such a delicate fishery and such an awesome fishery. You want to do everything you can to make sure those fish are in the best condition possible when you put them back. That was awesome.
Great job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Nice job, Captain. We had a fun day out here.
Awesome stuff, eh?
Time to head back.
Yep.
right.
Wrap 'em up. Head back. Everybody, James got his first muskie. Got a taste of that. Jordan got his personal best.
Awesome. I had fun.
You had
Gotta
fun.
throw one in
That's
and hold
always
it.
good.
Yeah.
Got some smiles and laughs out of Gabe. That's all good stuff.
All right.
Absolutely. Great job, guys.
Special thanks to Kevin for a fun afternoon on the water here on Lake St. Clair.
Well, as you can see, those guys had a lot of fun out there on Lake St. Clair. And if you've never been down there chasing muskie, I'd really encourage you to do that. It is a ton of fun, and they are some big fish, a lot of fun to catch. And in our next story, we're going to stay right there on Lake St. Clair as I follow along with a group that are saying thank you to our Lady Veterans and our Lady Law Enforcement by doing a great day of fishing out on the water.
Okay, so who is going to catch more fish today, the veterans or the law enforcement ladies? Okay, sounds good.
A few weeks back found me on the shores of Lake St. Clair with some fun and crazy women looking to find some big muskie.
We have our first inaugural veteran and law women-only muskie hunt fishing, I suppose. I'm excited as well. Can you
Yeah,
tell?
so how did this whole thing come around?
Well, Renee Anderson and I jumped on board with Detroit Chapter SCI, and boys said, hey, let's do something for the girls. We came up with this, and here it is.
Nice. So we're going out to catch muskie. And have you ever caught a muskie before?
I have. I've caught several.
Oh, nice.
And they are fun. We're going out with Medicine Man charters. They're fantastic. Good day. It looked like it wasn't going to be good, but it is. And
Okay.
hopefully those fish are biting.
Awesome. Well, how important is it to get ladies more involved in the outdoor sports, do you think?
It's going to determine the future of outdoors. More women, more kids. A lot more happens that way. So we look forward to it. Encouraging more women get out of the water.
Well, Captain, what's our game plan here today?
Hopefully we can catch some freshwater sharks.
Yeah? What are we going for? What are we looking for today?
Big muskies.
Yeah? How's the fishing been?
It's been fair to decent. The
Okay.
last 24 hours has actually been pretty slow. So it's time for a change. Hopefully this weather coming in brings some active fish.
On board today, we had 3 lady veterans, Corrine Daly, Alexis Atul-Lukowski, and Nicole Meixner. We also had Renee Anderson from Pretty Hunter along as well, one of the coordinators of today's trip. Now, we didn't have a camera on the other boat, but let me tell you, the trash talk started right away. And since it took us a little longer to find the first fish, well, that trash talk was flying for sure.
Might be a big one.
No one likes to say fish down and then, oh, got away.
Oh my goodness.
Walk backwards.
Woo! Hey, that's what we came up to.
Whoa! That's a good one.
Ice is so good. So good. Nice job, Green. Okay.
That's a nice
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That is
Look
a
at that.
dandy.
Medicine Man catching giant muskies on Lake St. Clair.
Attaboy.
Woo!
Thank you to the veterans. Thank you to the Pretty Hunters.
That's right.
A trip like today to say thank you to our veterans and women law enforcement, well, it is pretty cool for sure. And from what Renee says, it's hopefully the beginning of many of these kinds of trips.
I am an executive director for SCI, the Detroit chapter. So Trisha and I are both board members, and they kind of wanted to bring in a female influence. So they brought us on, and we decided our first adventure was going to be muskie fishing with Medicine Man, who we fish with Pretty Hunter. So we always have a great time with them, so we figured we'd bring in some vets and show SCI kind of how we roll.
Yeah, so how did the whole veteran / police officer thing get started?
So for SCI, a portion of their money always goes into giving back, whether it's with veterans or the community or different events that they do. So it was just something that we kind of rolled into. And with Pretty Hunter, Trisha is involved with veterans and police officers, so it kind of went hand in hand and made sense for the two of them.
Cool. So is this the first time you guys have done this?
For SCI, yes.
Okay.
We have been on the board for not even a month, I don't think. So this is our kind of our debut outing. So
far so good.
So far so good. Yeah, we've got a giant muskie and we are loving it.
It is pretty nice that the local SCI chapter sees the benefit of getting ladies involved. And like Tricia said at the beginning of this story, really the longevity of our outdoor sports may well lay in the hands of ladies and kids. If we don't do a good job of introducing them to the outdoors, we may lose the freedoms that we have. It is crucial now, maybe more than ever, that we widen the range of folks that love the outdoors, or at least see its benefits. As we wrapped up our day, the last fish at sunset was on the way in.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, we got our big fish catcher on the rod.
Remember, start backing up.
Good fish.
Great job.
Nice!
Got it.
It's that wide.
Nice job, team.
Good job to our U.S. veterans.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, on this trip, the lady law enforcement boat, well, they took home more fish than we did, but we all had a great time. And let's hope this ladies' trip with the law enforcement and our veterans saying thank you to both of them, well, hope it's the first of many here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
Well, we have such variety here in the state of Michigan. You can be down on Lake St. Clair catching giant muskies, or you can go to several different smaller bodies of water like we're going to do on this next story and catch smallmouth out of kayaks.
There are all sorts of little canoe and kayak shops across our great state. Today found me in a shop not too far from home, Water Dog Outfitters in the Montague-Whitehall area. Now, this shop was started by a friend of mine, and it has grown from a spot to rent a kayak to a place where, well, you can pretty much get whatever you need to enjoy the water in this part of the state. We met at the shop, but we did drive toward the middle of the state to tackle the Chippewa River, a place I knew very little about. We had fairly light tackle today, as we would be casting for smallmouth out of kayaks, and I have to say, I was really looking forward to this float.
Well, here we are. We're on the Chippewa River, and I don't think I've ever been on the Chippewa River before. And we are about, 10 miles or so west of Mount Pleasant. And we're here with Steve Crooks today. And Steve has fished this river for years and years. We're both kind of from the west side of the state. And he's got a cool little outfitter shop over there, but he knows this river really well. And we're going after smallmouth bass today. So he is quite proficient at it. I am not. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. We're going to get in the water, see what we can do. Should be fun.
I was in my sit-in kayak, and Steve was on a sit-on-top kayak, and the interest in this kind of fishing and boating has really taken off in the last decade or so from what Steve has seen.
The interest in kayaking has grown just at an amazing rate over the last even decade. I started carrying a few different lines of kayaks, and then 2 years ago I got into Old Town Necky Ocean kayaks, Evoke and Sun Dolphin kayaks that are made locally in Muskegon. So there's just been an overwhelming interest in getting into the water. It's one of those low cost kind of activities. Once the kayak is purchased, there's really no other expense to it. So people, families of all ages can get out and enjoy the water and really partake in what nature has. The biggest thing in kayaking right now, especially fishing kayaks, is the sit-on-top version like I'm sitting in here. It's a very stable unit. You can stand up in it. You can fish, basically all species of fish from it. It's something that's trending. In our shop we sell probably 75% sit-on-top kayaks, which is pretty amazing number. Something to kind of be conscious of when you're looking at kayaks, especially if you're looking to purchase, is the biggest thing I ask somebody is if they have back problems or back aches, or if, how much they're going to use the kayak, because the backrest in a kayak is truly something that's going to make or break that kayak. It's going to make you enjoy that ride so much more.
There we go. That's a nice little river smallie. Beautiful fish. Not a giant, but a good one, right?
Good start.
There's a lot of them in here like this, eh?
Oh, yes. And bigger.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I don't know what kind of footage we got because he was under the camera boat there for a little while. Oh, that was awesome. Cool. All right, let's get some more. I have to say this river was a lot nicer than I was anticipating. It was clear, shallow, and really was holding a fair amount of fish today.
It's full of fish that Jimmy's catching right now. Master Angler 8-inch smallmouth. Chippewa River, I've been fishing since 98, 99 when I went to school in this area. And, it's full of smallmouth, from the 8-inch example that Jimmy's got there too. I mean, you can get 3-4 pounders out of here on a regular basis. So, it's a nice stretch of water, really clean. It does have pretty significant traffic, on the weekends with deliveries that are around the area. But it's all in all a great fishery. Huge, but he's a fighter. Back hook. Another nice little Chippewa smallie. Oh, that's a toad. That's what we're looking for.
Oh, that one isn't jumping much.
No, toad dog. Not as big as we hoped, but he's a good size one.
Well, I was doing my best to let Steve catch all the good fish. He really did have this system down to a T.
I like to throw silver and black rapallas. It's just kind of my staple. You ask anybody out there, and that's what I throw in the river systems. They seem to attract a lot of smallmouth. They're a good bait because I throw a floating bait, so when it hits the water, it just kind of sits on the surface. So you can kind of jerk that a little bit, get some splash. Really attracts the smallmouth. It also does not allow that bait to sink down and snag on some of the structure underneath the water. So technique I use, as I call it busting banks, is I literally just cast towards the structure on the bank and hope for the best. You never know. You're not guaranteed to get fish, but we've pulled some really nice smallies out of here, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Now, we did catch some of the fish on a slow retrieve, but the big fish, well, they would hit the bait as soon as it touched the water.
Right on the surface. Just hammered it. Yep. Nice looking Chippewa River smallie. That is a dandy.
If you're looking for some fun this summer, grab a kayak, float a nearby river, and see what you can find. But beware, once you do it, you're going to be hooked here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
Well, hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Michigan Out of Doors this week. Make sure you are checking us out online when you get a chance on our website at michiganoutofdoorstv.com. Full episodes of the show there every week. We're also on social media from Instagram, Facebook, and if you'd like to subscribe to us on YouTube, you can do that as well and get all of our shows sent right to you. Lots of good stuff coming over the next several weeks. We've been out on the water quite a bit recently, and we're still traveling all the state right now, kind of wrapping up summer and getting ready for fall. Can't believe the hunting seasons are just a couple of weeks away. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By Metalloid Firearms and Sports, developers of environmentally friendly firearm maintenance products for cleaning and protecting your firearm's metal, as well as wood and leather components, on the web at metalloidfirearmsproducts.com. By the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By the Michigan Petroleum Association and the National Oil Heat Research Alliance, advocating the advantages of oil heat for home and environment through products like BioHeat Oil, which blends biodegradable materials into a renewable fuel source. Learn more at oilheatamerica.com. Closed captioning provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, East to Monroe, to St. Marie and back again. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. Say when, in way, I'm when, manani, I'm now.